The woman simply flicked dust off a rag, and the man mistook it for a wave directed at him, so he took off his hat and responded with excitement. His hearty laughter made the woman's heart flutter. It wasn't until he walked away that she timidly peeked out to look. However, being a maid in a wealthy household, love was nothing short of a fantasy for her. The next day, she flicked the rag again, and once more, the man responded with the same warmth. It warmed Lisa's heart. On the third day, a heavy rain poured down. She thought he wouldn't pass by, but unexpectedly, that man appeared again. Yet there was no sign of the woman by the window. On the fourth day, Lisa stood by the window for a long time, but didn't see that smile. She thought she'd never see him again. However, on the fifth day, a doorbell rang suddenly. Lisa went to open the door as usual, only to find the visitor was that man. It turned out his name was Jack. Lisa wanted to explain it was just a coincidence, but hesitated. Then Jack invited Lisa to see a movie that evening, but Lisa still had work until 7, so they agreed to meet at the cinema entrance at 8. It was the first time Lisa received flowers, and she felt delighted. Soon they arrived at the meeting spot. Jack bought 2 tickets himself, acting very gentlemanly, but as the movie started, he slowly placed his arm around Lisa's shoulder. Perhaps many people's love stories begin with a movie. By the 6th day, Lisa asked Jack to go somewhere with her and even helped adjust his tie. It turned out she was taking him to meet her parents, and Jack wasn't nervous at all. So that beautiful day passed quietly, but unexpectedly. When Lisa suggested going to Jack's house, he refused. His reason was that his home was too poor, and the whole street was dirty and messy. Lisa didn't get angry. Instead, she made a bold decision. The next day, she quit her job, planning to marry Jack. The noble lady looked dismissive of love, but when she saw how affectionate Lisa and Jack were, jealousy was clearly written on her face. Then the couple moved to a new neighborhood. That apartment was the home they barely managed to buy with 30 years of installment payments. Still, after seeing it, they felt it was worth it. The space was large, with huge floor-to-ceiling windows. In the bathroom, there was a bathtub and a manually flushed toilet. But in Lisa's mind, she was already planning a children's room. Behind the house was a garden, which made the two of them hug each other happily, imagining their future life together. On the 8th day, they eagerly entered marriage. In the days that followed, Jack worked hard outside every day, while Lisa kept the home neat and orderly. They lived a calm and sweet life. But one day, Lisa suddenly broke down and cried. Seeing this, Jack hurried over to comfort her. It turned out that in the 2 years since they married, they still hadn't had a child. At that time, Lisa was already 37, afraid she might never conceive again. She was in great pain, so Jack, to cheer her up, specially bought the large mirror she had longed for, planning to surprise her. But unexpectedly, Lisa had also prepared a surprise for Jack. It turned out Lisa was pregnant. The sudden good news made Jack jump for joy. They hugged tightly. Before long, Lisa's birthday arrived. Jack prepared a card and flowers for her, and by then, Lisa was already showing a big belly. A few months later, the baby was born safely. Looking at this new life, the two discussed what to name him, but the doctor suddenly interrupted, asking Jack to step outside. The doctor said Lisa was already 37, and it was best not to have more children, as she faced risks of advanced maternal age. In that instant, Jack understood. Having his wife by his side for life was already enough luck. From then on, the husband often helped look after the child. Lisa used spare moments to wash diapers and then put them in the washing machine for manual dehydration. 3 years passed, and the baby had grown into a little boy. He had naturally curly blonde hair. How adorable. Next to them was a newly opened coffee shop. Looking at its elegant decor, the prices must have been high. Jack promised to take her next time, so the family happily headed home. But unexpectedly, that day when Jack returned, he found Lisa crying on the sofa. It turned out their child was about to start school, but according to regulations, the boy had to have his head shaved. In the days that followed, the family lived incredibly happily. In their free time, they often took the child to the seaside for vacation. The family thought they could stay happy forever. But one day, Jack stood blankly in front of the radio, looking unusually solemn. The atmosphere of the entire city seemed particularly tense. It turned out invaders had begun massing troops around them. Perhaps a war was about to break out. For safety, Jack boarded up all the windows at home and planned to fill gaps with glue. Then the family put on gas masks. Maybe only then could they feel a trace of security. But before long, air raid sirens sounded continuously, and the war officially began. The family huddled together nervously. However, that day the government announced the evacuation of millions of children from the city. Even though Lisa was extremely reluctant, for safety's sake, they finally sent their child onto the train. As a mother, Lisa was forced to separate from her 5-year-old son. How painful her heart must have been at that moment. Back home, Jack built a bomb shelter in the backyard. In the days that followed, Jack was assigned to the fire department, often rushing through the smoke-filled city center, facing great danger. Lisa joined the support team. Every day, they lived in fear. The only comfort was letters from their son. Yet the turbulent situation had left the family in ruins. Even the iron fence at their door was taken to make shells. To lift Lisa's spirits, Jack said he would make a wooden fence tomorrow. But war is cruel. One dark night, their house was not spared. So they thought, during the time they repaired the house, they could visit their long unseen child. By then, The boy had long adapted to rural life. At the moment of reunion, smiles appeared on the faces of the whole family. They dreamed of having a small house here, but they still had over 20 years of mortgage payments left on their city home. Returning to the city, Jack immediately built an iron cage. He crawled inside and found it just the right size. It turned out to be their new bed for sleeping. But just then, the air raid siren suddenly sounded. Jack blew out the candle. Though he was very scared, he held his wife tightly in his arms. Fortunately, the iron cage was sturdy, and they were safe. But looking at the broken teddy bear in their hands, both worried about their son. Time soon came to Christmas Day. People could finally reunite with their children. Everyone sang and danced, their faces full of joy. But one of Jack's colleagues couldn't be happy. It turned out that the night before, a silent bomb had taken his son's life. Hearing this, Jack quickly apologized. After who knows how long, as the sunrise rose, the war finally ended. Their family returned to a peaceful life. But one day, a police car stopped at their door. It turned out their son had stolen something and been caught. Luckily, this time the police only gave a verbal warning. Lisa couldn't believe her son would steal. She scolded him severely. Although their life had rarely gone smoothly along the way, over the 10 years after the war, their feelings for each other had not diminished at all. In their free time, Jack always took Lisa out for couple time. But whenever midnight came, they also worried about their child's future. Because the boy had entered college, he wore his hair long, and often a girl waited for him at the door. Seeing this, they considered finding the girl's parents to meet sometime, but a letter that followed completely disrupted all their plans. The boy was about to be conscripted into the Royal Honor Guard. Though reluctant, they were also full of pride. So in the days that followed, the two often stood by the newly installed telephone, waiting for their son's call. They waited 3 years. Time had turned their hair gray, and Jack always created surprises for Lisa. He secretly bought a car, so the two drove to the suburbs for a spin. Even more exciting, they received a letter from their son. It said he would soon return home after discharge. But they never imagined that with their son came a girl. Though she was slim, Lisa didn't seem pleased. But Lisa's desire for grandchildren overcame that dissatisfaction. So one day, Lisa asked her son why they weren't having children. However, the son said they couldn't have children because his wife suffered from schizophrenia. But misfortune didn't stop there for this family. One day, while they were watching TV, Lisa suddenly confronted her husband, asking who he was. Lisa was ill. Immediately, Jack took her to the hospital for treatment. It turned out to be Alzheimer's disease. During Lisa's conversation with her son, she couldn't remember what date Christmas was. Seeing Lisa like this, Jack turned and left the ward, silently wiping tears. To awaken Lisa's memories, Jack took her to places where they first met. That coffee shop had already fallen into disrepair. Even now, Lisa hadn't gotten to sit inside. Jack had planned to take his wife out more often afterward. But one night, the hospital suddenly called. After hanging up, Jack seemed to use all his strength to put down the phone. His lifelong companion had passed away. Father and son clung together in grief. In the days that followed, the huge house was left with Jack alone. At meals, he always set 2 place settings. Perhaps in his heart, Lisa had never truly left. When one person leaves first, the one left behind suffers the most. One day, while reading the newspaper, Jack suddenly felt a sharp pain in his body. But at home, there was only a black cat looking at him. Before long, Jack followed Lisa. Their ordinary and happy life thus came to a complete end. Actually, Lisa was 5 years older than Jack, but Jack always treated her like a child, spoiling her. He often prepared surprises for her. When Lisa was sad, Jack would gently give her a hug. Lisa also managed their home well. She never complained about Jack's low income. They stayed together for life. Many hardships and difficulties were overcome with mutual support. That is precisely the best state of marriage. No matter whether you are poor or rich, whether you live or die, I will love you unwaveringly and never leave you.